How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Hardiest Bucks podcast. And you're going to like this one. And if you don't, something fucking wrong with you. Joining me now on the Hardiest Bucks podcast is the man, the legend, the 10th planet BJJ rock and roll guru who enjoys blazing it up every now and again, Eddie Bravo. Eddie, welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Just turn up this volume. We've had a few technical issues because... I'm not the most tech savvy, so hopefully people can hear you. Yeah, I just want to say welcome and got some interesting questions to ask you because I've been a fan of you're an open-minded guy, and I think in today's day and age, we're living in an age where everyone's quite narrow-minded, so it's kind of, hats off to you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you're from California originally?
Yes, born and raised in Los Angeles.
But in the valley or somewhere in the south?
Yep, in the valley. In the valley.
And it gets hot in the valley?
Oh yeah. It can get hot here.
And where are you living now?
In Sherman Oaks.
Is that northeast, is it?
It's north of downtown LA.
All right. Yeah, because I stayed in LA for about 2 weeks, about 7 years ago. I was staying in just south of Venice Boulevard, south of Koreatown. So I did a lot of driving around LA, and it was a cool place, especially like the rings there on Venice Beach in Santa Monica. There's a lot of cool dudes knocking around there. A lot of nice weed being smoked.
Yeah, a lot of weed in California. You got that.
You got those vapes over there now.
They could have, I wish they would, California's great with weed, but horrible with guns. I like guns. I like being able to protect my family. California's trying to take all that shit away.
I have a couple of questions about California, because in my last podcast I was talking to another Ed O'Neill, and he was originally from Minnesota, but he moved over to Southern California when he was younger, and he was like, my friend Danny Furious says shit's gone crazy over in California these days. And is it as bad as they say it is? Like, I mean, there's people shitting on the streets and all that kind of stuff.
The homeless situation is out of control right now, for sure. It's crazy. There's homeless people living on the side of the freeways. They just pitch tents anywhere, and you can just live anywhere you want these days. Just throw up a tent.
Yeah, it's mad when you look at California from like the 50s and the 60s. That was kind of like the main pinnacle of Western civilization. That was like the embodiment of the American dream.
All brainwash.
Yeah.
All brainwash. They wanted everybody chasing their Hollywood dreams and their rock star dreams. They wanted as many of those motherfuckers as possible.
Would you agree?
Easily corruptible.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I fell for that shit, hook, line, and sinker. Like,
Oh yeah, they got me. They got me good. I wanted to, a kiss got me. A kiss got me good. And if they're like the perfect Illuminati band. Kiss is just, it's so perfect. Make cartoon characters out of spaceman, transgender man, is Paul Stanley, demon, satanic demon, Gene Simmons, and all this Luciferian shit comes from Babylon and ancient Egypt, and they worship the cat. That's what the Sphinx is, a giant lion. So the cat was the drummer. So it's like a shout out to ancient Egypt and spaceman, the whole NASA psyop, and the demon, Satan, Gene Simmons, and Paul was always like a transgender guy. You know what I mean? He was like, is he gay? Like, it was hard to tell.
And is he? What's the story with Paul Stanley?
I don't think he's gay. I understand that. I used to think there was a huge possibility, but once I read his book, and he's talking about how the only reason he became a rock star was to hide his ears because he could grow his hair out, and he had one ear, like a deformed ear.
Yeah.
Okay, if I could grow my hair out, and the only reason I have long hair is to be a rock star. So, and he was really, really self-conscious. He'd be on stage and no one had any idea he's this rock star, and he always thought that, like, after shows, backstage, that people would see his real ear. So he would always seclude himself, and he didn't really party backstage, and he just was a loner because he didn't want anybody to see his ear.
Talk about getting into it for the wrong reasons.
So maybe the gay thing, him acting gay, was like a distraction.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care if they think I'm gay. Cool. As long as they're not paying attention to the ear.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, because I only found that out recently about his ear, and I was like, whoa. I mean, no one would have known. I guess if...
You know what? I met him in person once, and I noticed he had a weird ear. I remember telling people, it's like, his ear is kind of weird. It's kind of attached to his... I noticed it.
Yeah, fair enough. But at the end of the day, if you're like a huge rock star, like, and you're the face of a juggernaut rock and roll outfit like Kiss, I'm sure, you know, groupies and people are going to let that slide, man. Do you know what I mean? They're like, he's got a weird ear, but fuck that, man. It's Paul Stanley.
And no one will care.
I tell you what's like, for the audience listening, I was watching Eddie Bravo, The Building of an Empire, and we're kind of similar mindset, because I kind of had that same, you know, I always wanted to be a musician, but I don't know, I kind of was moving around too much and I was too transient, and I'd be between here and Stockholm, and then the Hardy Bucks, the comedy show we have, took off, and then it was sidetracked for about 12 years. I'm getting back into it now, but I like the way that you went out to LA, and, you know, I can identify with a lot of stuff that you've gone through. Like you said, your first big gig when you had the woman from like Disney, the music label, came up, and you were like, this is the big show. And after, like, during the first song, they walked out, and like the amount of shit that's happened to us over the years where we're just like, fuck, we've blown another one. But, you know, fair play to you for like, you know, hanging in there. But sometimes I feel like life throws something else at you.
I'm glad my music sucked. Because if it was good and we would have been signed, shit, I would have been balls deep in some Illuminati shit. If someone would have said, hey, dude, you know, you're blowing up, you're a rock star, and then someone said, hey, you want to go to a fucking island and party? There's a bunch of chicks on this island. I'd be like, yeah, can I be some friends? You know, they would have fucking blackmailed the shit out of me. I'm glad my music sucked. It was a blessing in disguise.
You know, the funny thing is, 7 years ago, before my first child was born, I spent like a month over in the States being like, all right, this is the last hurrah for a couple of years. And I was in LA and I was meeting people and things were happening quickly. And I was like, shit, man, if I had more time over here, I'd probably crack it. Then I started getting into the conspiracy stuff and you know, watching all these videos and even stuff that I would have seen in the past. You have all these different, like, you know, the Eye of Horus and the whole Masonic connection. And, you know, then you look at fucking Madonna videos. Like, you see Madonna in Tel Aviv at the Eurovision Song Contest. It's just like a complete, here's the plan. We're gonna, I mean, like, there's been a lot of theories for the way the world is going with all this conflict and subjective reality. You know, like, I seen like, there was a video the other day. It was like some young dude. He's either very fucking confused or an absolute genius. Basically said that he was a non-binary woman, and he is now identifies as being a lesbian. So I was like, well, fair play to the guy, because he probably wouldn't have got any girls, but now he is going to get together with lesbians. So hats off to the dude, man.
Hey, I'm right in the middle of the podcast. Like, hold on one sec. Hold on.
No worries, man.
Yeah, cool. I'm like, I don't know how long this is going to take. But this is everything? Yeah. Well, we were just in the middle of some transgender shit. Oh, it looks good. The white looks like it's popping now, yeah. White looks like it's popping. But thanks, dude. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, what were you saying?
So anyway, so this video about youngsters talking about what their orientation is these days. There was this, like, obviously it was a boy who identifies as a non-binary woman, but as a gay woman. So he's a lesbian. So could you imagine coming out of the closet to your parents, you're a boy who's now a lesbian?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that on weekends, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like weekend, hey, I'm a chick, but I only fuck chicks.
Exactly.
Lesbian.
And I kept the appendage. But I think all this kind of stuff, right, it's confusing everybody. Like, I've always been the kind of guy who I'll call bullshit and I can't keep my mouth shut. Obviously, you're the same yourself, because I've seen you on Joe's show, And Joe's like, what? A couple of years ago, he was saying, NASA, that's bullshit, man. No way they went to the moon. And now he's like, and then you're going like, Werner von Braun, man, he's the fucking Nazi collaborator, and the V2 rocket, and then the firmament and all that on his tombstone. And he's like, no. So it's like, but I respect the fact that you don't give a fuck, man. You'll say what you know what I mean? Like I was talking to a friend of mine. I was like, I'm gonna get Eddie Bravo on the podcast, and he's like, mate, you're gonna get on like, instead of a house on fire, you're gonna get on like World Trade 7. So, but yeah, in terms of back to the music, like we were gonna do this on Friday, but you ended up going to see Alice in Chains.
Yes.
And Korn.
We were stuck in traffic. I would never check my emails the whole way through. So if you would have had my number, if you would have texted me, I would have done the podcast on the way to the show. But I forget. I don't do that many podcasts. I stopped doing my podcast. I don't. The more I find out about how this world runs, the less I want to be famous. You know. I stopped doing my podcast. The more I find out about how this world runs, the less I want to be famous. If Columbia Records came up to me and said, "Hey man, we want to fucking blow you up," I would probably do it just because that's what I was programmed by MTV to want, and it's still in me.
Yeah.
But I would be scared. I would be fucking really careful and really scared, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I think.
Yeah, it's weird. Columbia is a funny one because you got Columbia Records and you got Columbia University, and Columbia University is where the Frankfurt School kind of came out of, and they settled, and that's where all your critical theory and your Saul Alinsky, which is basically what Clinton was into, and he dedicates Rules for Radicals, the book, to the first rebel of them all, which was Lucifer. And it's funny because, like, I was raised Catholic, same as yourself, and there's something fucking weird going on in the Vatican, man. Obviously, with all the fucking pedophilia shit, but there's also like that Babylonian vibe going on. But at the same time, there's a lot of things within Catholicism that have done extensive research into the more weird esoteric shit that's out there as well. So I think maybe there's a battle between good and evil within that institution itself, because obviously, like, you meet, people who get into it as a vocation because they want to do good. But then you got the likes of like Pope Francis. Do you ever see that video of him where like people are going up to him trying to kiss his hand and shit, and he's like pulling the hand away like this the whole time? You're thinking, he's a fucking weird dude, man. And apparently there shouldn't be two popes either. Like, you've got like Pope Benedict is still alive. Like, the whole deal was you live out your term until you die. Like,
in my opinion, the Catholic Church was always really satanic from day one. They just pretended to worship Christ just so the people would not scatter and leave the empire. It was like, okay, you want Christ? We got Christ, okay? We do it a different way, though. We got a pope. He talks to Christ like every day. And then the cardinals, they talk to Christ like once a month. And then the bishops a couple times a year. You know what I mean? But you got to worship them because they're close to Christ. They talk to Christ, So it seems like it was like they had to throw Jesus in there because the people, for some reason, that's mainstream history right there. Mainstream is telling you that Constantine was the Roman emperor that instituted the Catholic Church, and then he's the one who accepted Christ. And then even it's mainstream that some scholars believe that he remained pagan in secret, and he was only pretending to be into Christ. That's mainstream scholars say that. So it's not a stretch to think that they were never into Christ, and it was always about using Christ as a tool to control the masses. That's what they want. You want Christ? Okay, we're Christ, but we do it this way. And after 10 years, you take them kids, you raise kids. In 10 years, you're gonna have a force.
Yeah.
Of people that believe anything you want them to believe. So that's what I think Catholicism was. Has like two purposes.
Lead the opposition.
To divide. Like, it has so much dumb shit that half the people are going to not believe in that dumb shit and go, "This is bullshit. There is no God," which is Satan. When you're an atheist, you're just so ready for satanic work. It's part of the process. You don't even know it. So, but then they know there's going to be dumb people that just believe anything and that are easily indoctrinated, easily hypnotized, and then those people are going to be the ones they use like to fight wars. Jesus.
Yeah.
You need it's for Jesus, and then you take the ones that are balls deep believing in it and fully indoctrinated in it. You use them as soldiers, and the ones that don't believe it, you use them. You bring them on over to science, and you control science too, though. Because people that don't believe in a God are generally like science fanboys. Everything science.
Yeah.
And so I think from day one, the Catholic Church has been trying to destroy Jesus. That's what I believe.
If you listen to the Sermon on the Mount or something like that, if you listen to anything, he'd be completely against it. I mean, he'd be like, you'd be insulted, But that's interesting. Science has become the new religion as well. It's kind of. The same with history. I mean, we're only there could be so many important historical events that didn't go down the way we're told. Just let's take a completely innocuous event say Columbus. I don't know, probably not the best example, but let's say something like just basically if someone told a lie, the victor told a lie, and that was put down in history. And they claim to be the good guys. The victor always writes history. How many victors were shitbags who then wrote themselves in a good light is what I'm saying. So that's mainstream history. But then also mainstream science, like you say, NASA. I mean, look at the fucking money they're making. Obviously, you have a lot of opinions on NASA, which would you like to elaborate on that? Just because a lot of people be like, what's your problem with NASA, man?
Well, when you look at history, coming from the mainstream, coming from textbooks, you just can't believe it all. We know that Christopher Columbus didn't discover America. Everybody knows it's mainstream now that he actually didn't discover America. But we still celebrate Columbus Day, and no one really gets too deep with it. The kids are still learning that Columbus discovered America, and it's an important part of our history. It seems like most of our history is Jack and Jill stories.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard, when people quote historical events. I'm like, I don't even know if that ever existed. I'm not sure.
Do you ever hear of Tartara? I was over in England back in January. There was a guy talking about Tartara or the Tartaran.
Yeah, that's supposedly the lost empire of Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Jesus had this. He went on to have sons, and they ruled, and they had a kingdom, and it was called Tartaria. Something like that.
Yeah.
It's either Tartaria or Tartary. One of those.
What do you think of that?
There's not that much evidence, but the conspiracy theory is that Jesus had sons. It was an empire that was ruled by Jesus, and it got toppled and erased from history. So they've been trying to kill Jesus ever since, and even though they tried to erase the true history of Jesus, the people it still lived on in the people, and I don't know if that's real or not.
Yeah.
There's a lost Christian empire that was somewhere in Russia.
Yeah.
And they try to erase it from history.
Yeah, because they say...
I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, because someone was saying they found Romanesque buildings in Japan. And because Japan was on an island, it was but they looked like they were Roman-style buildings in Japan. I think there's just so much stuff out there from the past. You look at Gobi Tepe or Peru, places like this. Is there people going, oh yes, this archaeological site has been discovered? It's like Indiana Jones shit, and it's just put in boxes and sent off to some shady warehouse. Is there something they don't want us to know?
It's hard to once I found out that Stonehenge was a hoax.
Stonehenge.
Yeah, once you find out that, because Stonehenge, it's really cool to people because you have this stone monument with these megalithic stones that were like placed on top of each other. Like, how did they do that? Did aliens do? How did they do it? 3,000 years ago. It's like amazing. If you want to see it, you're like, fuck, these stones, how did they move them? How did they put it together? Holy shit. It's still standing after whatever 1,000 years, you know what I mean? But then when you look into it, when there's 2 official counts of them remodeling it, they call it remodeling, and there's there's all these pictures, and they're not denying there was a remodeling like in 1910, and then one in 1955, something like that. And they have pictures from when they remodeled them, and they clearly show those stones being lifted with cranes.
Cranes, yeah.
And they removed the stones, like the official story. It's like, yeah, we remodeled it, but it was there before. We just removed the stones. We built these like cement bases so that they could stand longer. Then they put the stones back up, and then like what?
Yeah, because when I seen that, I was like,
real?
Yeah,
that's fake now. It's fake.
But have you ever heard of Newgrange in Ireland?
No.
Newgrange in Ireland, I think it's about it's over 5,000 years old. It's in County Meath, and it's like on a hill. So basically, you have this kind of dome, beautifully decorated with masonry work, stones around the edge, but it's basically a dome. It's 5,000 years old, and the light shaft comes in, I think it's the 21st of December. I can't remember exactly what happens, but it comes in at a perfect point on that day of the year. Is the only time that the light comes in and illuminates the inside of this Neolithic building. I've never been, so I can't, but it's quite interesting all the same. But no one knows what the fuck was going on there either. And my friend Tom Cagallan, who he's really interested in going to see these Neolithic dolmens all over Ireland, like Stonehenge, 1 big stone on the top and 2 on the bottom, but they have them in Korea as well. And you're thinking like, how can people this is the other thing, like, did we have like advanced technology way back, and these were just the only things that lasted were things people just wanted to do in stone. But I think there's a lot of shit people on. Like I've also spoke on the podcast before. I was coming back from London on the day after St. Patrick's Day, and after they turned the lights off on the plane, I was looking over the edge. I was looking out the window, and there was this fat dude, maybe like in the 70s, eating a Toblerone out of the box, and he had Parkinson's. And I hadn't spoken to him, but when I looked out the window after they turned the cabin lights on, I seen this like orange light down in the clouds, and I was like, oh yeah, that's probably just like a small town. And the name of the place was called Stallahome, where we were flying over at the time. And this ball of kind of orange golden light just comes straight out the clouds, follows alongside the plane, and I'm like, fuck, it's a Foo Fighter. So I grabbed this dude beside me and I said, look. I grabbed him, and then he was like this, shaking, looking out the window, and he turns to me in Swedish and he goes, oi, det var en UFO. And it was still there, man. It was like following us. And then it just went, shot right off in front of the plane. And then, so I tried to take a picture of it, but of course it was on photograph mode, so I just got a flash of the inside of the plane. But on the off chance, I turned on the camera and just held it out the window for a while, and you can see in the distance another small orb just floating along. It disappears, and then if you go into the script, I'll send you the video later on. I'll tell you what it is, but it turns into like it disappears and turns into like a triangle shaped wedge. And as I was talking to the old guy about Foo Fighters, because they had the Wi-Fi on the plane, I hadn't checked the video yet, and it said in the Wikipedia entry that they were like a disc shape or a triangle shape. So then I slowed it down and we looked at it, and he went, "Oh yeah, that's exactly what you said." Then I turned around to this dude behind me, and he was like wearing a suit and tie. He was on his way to Stockholm for a week's business trip. And I said, "Sorry, mate." And he went, pulled the headphones out, and he goes, "Yeah." I went, Did you see that thing that was outside?" He goes, "I did, mate. What the fuck was that?" And I went, "No idea." And he goes, "Yeah, that thing had intelligence." So being a cheeky prick, I asked the cabin crew afterwards. I was like, "What was that thing following us?" And they were like, "Oh, that was a Chinese lantern." I was like, "A Chinese lantern at like 500 miles an hour?" That just went, and eventually she just said, "Lay off the drugs, buddy." So I don't know what the fuck that was, but my mate Andy Wallace said he was listening to the Joe show, And he said, that thing you said you saw, apparently had a guest on who said that these things you can only see them from above because they apparently refract the light underneath them. But I don't know what the fuck that was. Don't know if it's, because like I heard before that when you were on the Sam Tripoli show, you were saying to David Icke, or no, it was another dude you were talking to, you said like you don't believe in the alien stuff anymore. That in the old days you did.
No.
Yeah.
No. I believe I used to, but there's just so much evidence that the government wants us to believe in aliens, and it really looks like the grand finale is going to be a fake alien invasion to usher in the new world. That's what when you look back at everything, that's how I see it. I see like guys like Bob Lazar, guys like William Cooper, and Stephen Greer.
The dude from Blink-182.
That guy too.
Yeah.
What they do is they get guys that really believe that shit, and they're like the government. They're like, because Stephen Greer, or what's his name? The guy from the Disclosure Project. He said, he goes, yeah, then what's one of the Rockefellers, Lawrence Rockefeller? Yeah, he really feels like it's time for disclosure. He really wants it, and I'm the one that's going to lead it. And he led the Disclosure Project. He even now thinks like he was set up. William Cooper was set up. He worked for the Office of Naval Intelligence, and he was in charge of preparing documents for briefings between like generals, like high-ranking Joint Chiefs of Staff. And he was looking at documents that talked about UFOs, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And then they wanted him to leak that he saw some UFO documents. They wanted him to do that, and that's what he believed too. He ended up realizing that, and there's just so much. To me, it's obvious. The establishment really pushes space. They really push aliens. It's in the movies.
Yeah, the movies.
It's everywhere. It's like they're pushing anything. It used to be a conspiracy theory that you thought the government was doing something bad by covering up. Now, but the government promotes that shit.
Yeah.
They put you on CNN. You want to say that? Bob Lazar's got a Netflix special. Netflix is deep state. So, like, they're pushing, like, Bob Lazar was on JRE. He was on Larry King. And no one's trying to kill him.
Yeah.
You know? What they do is they'll send some guy to go harass you a little bit so that you can say, fuck, they're harassing me. They're threatening me. You know what I mean? They do that because they want when you leak something, it's better. It's way more. It's about 1 million times more powerful to leak info that you want spread to people that don't know that you're lying.
So you put the truth out with you muddy the water when you put the truth out with it. Do you reckon the truth is kind of in plain sight and someone's got it right, but they'll take a few different people with opposing views? You know, like let's say 9/11 is another example where people are saying project holograms. You've got all these different theories floating around, and then you have like the art students who are supposed to rig the place. You know, like I had a conversation with a friend of mine over here about like the Pentagon, for example. And he was having none of it. And I was like, mate, how can you not see, like, there's no footage of the fucking plane that hit the Pentagon? Or like the Kennedy assassination. There's so many different theories that the right one could be right there, and it might not be as spectacular. Like, for example, the Saudi dudes who went onto the plane, who the alleged guys with the box cutters. Apparently James Woods seen them at an airport. But then and he's pretty outspoken on Twitter, and you kind of... When you got all these different people coming in with all these different theories, it doesn't matter if you do have the right one. It's just mixed up in the common lot anyway. So is that what you mean by like the likes of Greer or Tom DeLonge and all these guys?
Well, it's easier. Like if they want, Ronald Reagan mentioned it 8 different times in speeches.
Bush
at the UN, at CFR.
Clinton did as well.
Yeah, Clinton did too. that's just more evidence that they want us to believe. Because when I was balls deep into the UFO community, those Ronald Reagan speeches, that was more proof that there were aliens. Like, look, he's even talking about it. Fuck. You know what I mean? But now I look at it like, oh, they're just planning to see, they're trying to fake us out. And basically he was saying, wouldn't it make our jobs a lot fucking easier if everyone was scared of some alien threat? How easy would our jobs be? You know what I mean? He was basically saying it like that. So it's obvious. I got a 7-year-old, and they just shove space down his fucking throat.
Yeah. And
dinosaurs are a part of the whole, are a part of the fake alien invasion, because you can't have a fake alien invasion unless there's aliens. You can't have aliens unless there's infinite space. And aliens represent like evolution. And you can't, if evolution is real, you can't have aliens without evolution. So now you need a whole evolution story. We all came from fucking pollywogs or something.
Yeah.
You know, I believe in evolution, like within a species. Yeah, like we could adapt to different shit. Skin could change different color. Hair could get different based on your temperature. But, you know, a human's never going to become, you know, a dog, or a dog's never going to become a human. Like,
yeah, from
I don't believe in that kind of evolution.
Yeah, exactly.
Like species jumping, like.
I mean, like the probability of that happening. What is it like? They say like if some lightning hits some water.
Yeah.
And next thing you've got guys building cars.
There's no proof that a species of animal can become a different species. There's just no proof of that. There's zero proof.
Well, it's the science of also, like, I mean, you can't even replicate that as an experiment.
And then you need dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are a big part of that.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs are part of evolution. Before there was man, we were reptiles, and then we turned into mammals, and then the humans came, and then the dinosaurs are part of the evolution, part of the age of the world. Like when people say, "Oh, this is 5,000 years old," or "This is 10,000 years old," I don't believe any of that shit. Like,
yeah.
You say 10,000 based on what, like carbon dating? I don't believe shit. You know, like I bet. And my gut feeling is carbon dating is super not accurate. You know, it's ridiculous.
Well, because the thing is, we're only going off what people are telling us. I mean, we've been trained to, like, the educational system. Like if you compare like a private education curriculum compared to what everyone else gets, like there's a reason why most people from private schools end up in top, you know, financial positions or getting there seems to be some sort of education that the regular comprehensive schools aren't getting compared to a private school that you have to pay top money to go in, you know.
Well, the difference between private schools and public schools is that private school, people that go to private schools probably have a better chance of getting better slave jobs. That's all.
Okay.
It's just you got to be a better slave.
Yeah. You're a luxury slave. You've got a gilded cage instead.
In the house.
Yeah.
Private school, you have a better chance of ending up in the house.
I was watching you on the Joe Rogan podcast there when you were talking about oil. You know the way they say, "Oh, we're running out of oil," and like they say that, you know, it's dinosaur bones and what is it?
Yeah. When I was a kid, they told us that gas comes from dinosaurs. That's what they told us. There's gas stations that are like, there's a gas station that has a giant green brontosaurus, which actually never existed. Look into brontosaurus.
Really?
Never existed. Yeah.
How come?
That's mainstream.
Yeah.
I really know the dinosaurs existed, but they admit the brontosaurus was made up.
Really?
They admit that. Yeah.
Wow. Didn't know that. Yeah, man, there's fucking loads of stuff I wanted to ask you about. But let's look at oil, for example. They say oil is a finite resource. I don't believe that really. I think that's just the way. And I, like, as you said before, didn't like John D. Rockefeller, didn't he come out with that in order to just, by saying it was a finite resource, you pushed up the demand because they knew people, and therefore the price went up as well.
Yeah, I believe when I hear people talk about oil and how like it's the second most abundant liquid on the planet, it's renewable, we'll never run out of oil. If we actually paid what it was really worth, it would be less than a penny a barrel. It's just everywhere. There's too much of it. There's oil everywhere. But you have to make it seem like it's going to run out so that you can keep charging whatever, which is weird. Like the price of gasoline really hasn't gone up that much. Like when you compare it to other things, it hasn't really gone up. And like cars are all the same. Like cars, it's like 32 miles to the gallon. It's the same thing. I know you guys have liters out there, but like prices to cars are the same. You know, the miles per gallon are basically the same.
Yeah.
Gas prices they went up. You know, when I was a kid, it was like $1.50, $1.50, $2. Now it's like $3.50, sometimes $2.50, depending where you're at. It could be $2, $2.50. So gas really hasn't gone up.
And is that for a gallon?
Yeah.
Because it's like $1.50 for a liter here in Europe.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane. But like,
but it's been like that forever though.
What do you think of like the whole climate change thing? Because like, I mean, to even question it nowadays, it's fucking you're just demonic for even asking questions. You know what I mean? Like people are like, how dare you? But I think like the problem is like nobody has a narrow mind or an open mind. Like there's no discernment now, or there's like the idea of like they can't even take a conflicting opinion. A lot of people. They can't actually entertain an idea. I mean, you don't need. It doesn't mean if you take on an idea, it's automatically just going to be hardwired to change your opinion. But the idea of being able to take it, or like the thought process of being able to take an idea and not let it change you, but you entertain the idea, is a good measurement of intelligence. And people nowadays, they're afraid of even discussing these things. Like it's fun to discuss these things. And people are like, no, I'm not talking about that. How dare you? But I think if you look at, first of all, it was like the Ice Age that was gonna happen. Then it was acid rain, and then it was the ozone layer, and then it was the
overpopulation.
The which?
Overpopulation.
Yeah, overpopulation. That's bollocks as well, man. Like you know, look at the size of the planet.
This Earth is mostly empty.
Yeah.
There's no people. We barely occupy any space.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like, and obviously, I like the world is polluted. The people are like dumping shit into the sea and like you know fucking Monsanto and Roundup and all that shit going into the water table. That's dodgy. That's bad for our health and bad for the environment and the animals that inhabit it. But when you kind of think of it, like obviously plastic is bad shit because it's processed and it doesn't break down. Kind of going off on a bit of a tangent on this one, but what I'm saying is it's like. Look at Al Gore, right? He came out with the inconvenient truth. But yet the dude lives in a house the size of a football field.
Global warming is just it's part of the process for a new world order. It's just part of the process. I mean, they need everyone scared about something, either enemies, war, but it's hard to keep the war thing going. If you want a one world order, like before we go one world order, we gotta have like world peace first, and then we scare everybody with global warming, asteroids, terrorism, and then the final one is aliens. So the global warming is just because what are they saying? They're saying, they're basically just saying we need your money so that we could save you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's what it all comes down to.
Money. So throwing money at the problem is going to fix it.
Yeah, and they're not going to throw money at the problem.
No.
They're just going to put the money in their pockets.
Exactly.
It's not about like, they're not trying to save shit. They're trying to get everyone used to paying world taxes.
Yeah.
You got to get everybody together. Scare them with the environment, scare them with asteroids, scare them with aliens. We got to be scared to the point where only the government can save us. That's all they're interested in is making us want them.
And that's a good point because, like, all this chaos in the world, right? Like the way look at California as an example. Like it's chaos there now. It was like used to be the jewel of America, but it's everything's breaking down. It's chaos, and I'm kind of thinking, is the point of it to make life unlivable for everybody? So they eventually just go, okay, we submit. That's
part of it.
Yeah,
that's definitely part of it. They're trying to fuck everything up. They're not trying to set up anything. They want everything fucked up. Family.
Yeah, well, family. Yeah, the family unit as well, man.
Anything. There's a bunch of ways to fuck up the family. So if you think of a new way, they're all ears, and they'll fucking fund it and green light it if it makes sense.
It's funny, isn't it? Like how we would have fallen, for like MTV and that rock star
Masonic TV with the every hour on the hour they show the motherfucker on the moon with the flag, and it says MTV, and all the awards were an astronaut landing on the moon. You know what I mean? They made space part of pop culture.
Yeah, that's the thing, and a lot of these films like Independence Day and like Gravity, all these kind of what's the one with Bradley Cooper? He goes. The one where he ends up in the black hole, all this kind of stuff. Interstellar, yeah. So it gets into people's heads, and like that in itself is a kind of a pre-programming of.
It is all that.
Black Mirror as well.
The creator of Star Trek was a Freemason. Look at Stanley Kubrick and Space Odyssey 2001. It's all about getting everyone prepared for the fake alien invasion. They're gonna pull it off. They just didn't have the technology before, but now I think they have to, with all the shit going on with Epstein Island and Trump. They might as well do the fake alien invasion now. That's what I think Area 51 thing is.
Yeah.
I think if they don't pull off the fake alien invasion, then I think that when are you gonna do it, dude? That's perfect. There's a day. Everyone, they get a bunch of people there.
Eyewitnesses.
They release some aliens, and alien comes out. If people will eat it up, they will buy it. They will buy it. They need to do the fake alien invasion at that day.
Oh yeah, perfect. Loads of eyewitnesses.
That day would be perfect.
Did you see that?
Perfect timing too.
It is. And did you see that thing in China once where they had like in the clouds they had like it looked like a big
city.
It was like a big city. Yeah, did you see it?
No one gives a shit about that though.
No.
So when they finally make that move, shit, they got to commit to it.
Yeah.
They can't fucking show us something, and then they got to commit to something. Unless they could show giant hologram in the sky over New York City, broad daylight. Everyone films it with their phones, and then it disappears, and then they just from that point on, the White House could just say, yeah, we're in communications with them, and then they don't have to show them anymore. You just flash it that once. You flash it, make everyone believe it, and then boom, it's just like nuclear bombs. You showed it once, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Who knows what kind of bombs those were, but it was good for them to go, dude, we dropped some nuclear bombs. Look, the footage. Oh my God, the footage. And right away, everyone believes it, and then they don't ever have to show it again. Like, how do you know? You look at it by looking at a bomb. How do you know if it's nuclear? Like, you don't know.
Could be just a massive fucking bomb like the Moab. You know what I mean? It's like, it could be a fuel bomb. You know what I mean? Like
who knows? What's the difference between a hydrogen bomb and a nuclear bomb? I wouldn't know the difference. You know, they're just like long missiles, right? Like, how do you know what's in them? So I think with the alien thing, they actually had to blast it out, make sure everyone gets it on their phones, big event, and then you don't ever have to show it again. Say the aliens don't, we're communicating with them, and they say they're gonna fucking destroy us if we don't do this or do that, and then boom.
And you know what the answer will be, Eddie? You have to give money to the aliens.
So we have to pay taxes to build a force field to defend us against the aliens.
Oh yeah, exactly.
We got to build some. We got to put a lot of money into space like missiles and shit like that. Satellites with missiles and shit. So then that'll be a big industry. And all they have to do is just release CGI pictures of these missiles in space.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? And like tanks in space and shit.
What do you think of?
It would be all fake. They could just build like a legit Battlestar Galactica. Fuck ISS. Go big. Do like a big Star Trek one, but of course it's CGI, and then you just keep that going for a while. Everyone's gonna believe that, just like the International Space Station. So you just say, fuck it. Fuck the International Space Station. Let's go mothership protect from the aliens, boom. They could get $1 trillion a year for that shit.
It's interesting you say that because there was some video came up with this guy called Bill Whittle who came up on YouTube the other day, and he was saying that they found this asteroid in space and it's all metal, and he was saying like, oh, we could make $280 trillion from mining this thing. So if they could send up like crafts, build, like you say, a rotating centrifugal simulated gravity space station, much like the one in Interstellar or in 2001. So they would use that and then just go off, build, have like processing plants to build the steel and then build all this stuff out there. It was like, then it would be the end of the debt and we could reset the debt on the world. So I listen, like, to be honest with you.
Oh, there you go. That's it right there.
Yeah.
That's part of it. They're going to do that. They're gonna claim they're making all sorts of shit in space, and they're never gonna show us anything but CGI pictures.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is the thing.
Like, green screen shit. They might as well go big. ISS, that's small fries. They gotta go. They need a fucking Star Trek Enterprise out there. You know what I mean? And have like fucking a shitload of people out there, and with missiles, and we take them around and show them all the artillery that we're gonna do. This is where we've been putting all our money. And those aliens come back, want to fuck them up.
Well, that's the thing. Like there's another question I wanted to ask regarding the or the California fires last year. There was all sorts of speculation about them using directed energy weapons. Do you have an opinion on that?
I believe that. Based on the pictures I've seen, them fires are weird. Like there'd be like a house that's melted, and then like trees around it untouched.
And the bin, like it was half a wheelie bin was just like half was melted, the other half was perfect.
Yeah. But, I believe that. I believe that they can start fires anywhere. I believe that's gotta be fucking easy, dude.
Well, check this out.
Fire with like some kind of laser and come on, man.
Even easier.
You can't do that. That's a crazy tinfoil conspiracy. They don't have the technology.
But this is the thing. People are probably going to listen to this and go, Maloney's lost the plot and Eddie Bravo has lost the plot. But when you think about it, right, you have a magnifying glass, right? And, you know, you can use the sun to burn fucking ants and melt plastic soldiers. If you can send up a satellite with a huge lens on it with an aperture that closes, you can just fucking direct that anywhere, just like
a drone. Like there's like a video going around on Instagram. Like someone just got this drone, and it's like a flamethrower drone. And the guy's flying it, and he's burning down trees and shit.
Really?
You can watch. Yeah, it's easy. A drone that is a flamethrower or a direct energy weapon. That's easy shit. Like people can make that shit in their garage, and you know, people were like, no, those are real fires because that's what the
media told us.
Said. Yes.
Well, going back to the news, like, sure, they were the ones who said Saddam Hussein had fucking weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
When he didn't. It's all fucking tied together, and like nowadays you've got rolling news and people just forget, like the Epstein shit that's going on. Like, do you reckon Kubrick was trying to warn us in Eyes Wide Shut about the whole maybe Epstein and that connection? Do you reckon?
I gotta watch that because I still haven't watched Eyes Wide Shut yet. I gotta watch that shit.
Yeah, I think you have to watch it a few times, or if you want to just get the quick version, someone's done like an analysis of all the symbolism.
I'll watch both. I'll watch the whole thing like a regular customer, and then I'll go back and watch the breakdowns. But I just need to watch it. You know?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was. I mean, the story is that.
And Kubrick died. Apparently, he had an argument with Warner Brothers because they cut 17 minutes out of it, and I think it was like the day before it was to be released or something, he mysteriously died.
Yeah. So that alone right there tells me that there's a lot of truth in that movie. I just got to go back. I mean, I believe it already. Like if I see a movie about these billionaires or Illuminati or Rockefellers or Rothschilds doing some rituals in these parties, in these mansions with these kids, like I'm like, okay, yeah, I know that. Like it's not going to be like some kind of revelation for me or anything. But I do want to see it.
Hey, you'll see some women with nice bodies as well, so that's a plus side.
Okay.
But I was going to say, yeah, from that side of thing, I think I'll take it back.
Okay, real quick, I got a question for you.
Yeah,
I got a question for you. Are you married to the ball?
to the ball.
Are you married to the ball?
What's the ball?
The Earth.
Oh,
Are you
yeah.
are you married to the fact that, are you married to the idea that we live on a spinning ball?
Do you know what? I'm open-minded. Obviously, I've gone down that route, and you know what? They've lied about so much other things. Like, who knows anymore? You know, I'm open-minded to it. I'm always open-minded. If someone comes at me, I'll say, all right, fair enough, and I'll just use discernment. But
Okay, so in about 18 months, you'll be open about your flat Earth beliefs. It takes at the point you're on right now. You're not married to the ball. It's going to take 18 months, maybe 2 years, but you ain't going back now.
so
You're just going to find out you're just going to keep hearing it little by little. You're going to keep looking into it little by little every day, the inch by inch, and then finally you're going to come to the point where you're like, you know what, dude, this is fucking flat. It's flat, dude. There's no curvature.
Well,
It's all bullshit.
the first I heard about it was 4 years ago, and we were doing our third series, and there was a guy, one of the art directors in it, Owen. We were, comparing conspiracies. He goes, "Man, I've got one for you." I was like, "What is it?" And he goes, "Flat Earth." And I was like, "What?" And I went, "That's fucking mental, man." And he goes, "Check it out, man. Check it out." And I was like, "What the fuck?" When you first heard it, what did you think?
It was retarded.
Yeah.
The most retarded shit ever.
Yeah, because I've entertained the idea. Your man Owen Benjamin, I started getting these videos where he was taking on NASA, and I was like, this dude's he's out there, man. But then he made a lot of good points about NASA. People going at him really hard, and I was like, all right. And then I just looked at like the lander, and I was like, how the fuck did that look at it, and then he talks about the vacuum of space. And I know he has the beef with Joe, and I don't want to go stir in the pot or anything. But like, I like the fact that someone is talking that kind of shit unapologetically. Do you know what I mean? Do you ever watch any of his stuff?
He believes that we fake the moon missions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with him on that.
Yeah. He's always bashing Joe. It'd be nice to see them, get back together and peacefully resolve the beef. But he never said anything wrong about yourself. He digs what you're into, but he had a guest on, was talking about the flat earth model. And even he was coming to the conclusion that, all right, I don't know what to say about it. But I watched the video you did where you were like talking to some engineers on stage, and you were really going at it. And you were saying like, if you look over the horizon on a boat, like if you had a telescope, you won't see the mast disappear over the curvature. That kind of got me thinking. I was like, well, what happens if you do get a telescope, like something you could see the moon with, and then you look as far as you can into the horizon? Are you constantly going to see the horizon, or will you actually see the mast of a ship disappear over the edge? Is there a way of checking that?
Well, eventually your telescope or whatever you're looking through is going to reach its maximum
distance.
Yes, exactly. And so eventually it will, because if you're looking at a boat with your naked eye and you see it disappear in the horizon, a lot of people think that it just went over the curve. But that's wrong, because if it went over the curve, you wouldn't be able to zoom in on it. So if you get like just a regular zoom, that first phase, anything that has a zoom on it, no matter how powerful it is, it's going to bring that boat back.
Yeah.
If it's super powerful, brings it way back. But then as you look through it, through a regular telescope, eventually it runs out of its power of bringing things closer, and it's going to disappear just like it would have with the naked eye. But if you get a more powerful telescope and then you put on it, then it brings it back again.
Right.
But eventually you're going to run out of power. The power of magnification with your whatever telescope you're using. So if you had a telescope that infinite power, it would keep bringing back the boat. But then you got other stuff to deal with, like, like all the atmospheric layers of haze and all the stuff that's at sea level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's going to distort the distance as well.
Probably about 7 years ago, I was looking at the sunset when I was driving, and I was thinking, it was very difficult to get my head around the idea of, okay, I'm sideways on a globe. If you think of it like if you're on a ball and you're looking at the sunset, but you're driving horizontally, looking at the sun, it's a very strange thing to try and imagine that you're on the side of a ball like this, and there's the sun, and you're going around the sun. But yet, from our perspective, the sun always looks like it's setting, going down over the horizon. So let's say some people say flat Earth is like a CIA thing where they threw that into the mix to discredit conspiracies. But like, where did it originate from? Who started who like kind of brought it out in recent times? Do you know?
It's always been discussed, but Eric Dubay, he's probably the most popular flat earther out there. I love all his stuff. I always send people to Eric. He's got the best. He breaks it down the best for sure. But there's other guys out there like Rob Skiba. He has a new video about that just has nothing but NASA documents and CIA documents and U.S. military documents of tests on missiles, trying to calculate their motion. Whether it's, their trajectory or their timing, and high altitude military aircraft. These documents are just about calculating, getting numbers, getting data on motion. And each one of these documents, and they're endless. It's a whole shitload. Rob Skiba just keeps going through all of these documents that were declassified.
What happened to the guy?
They all say if you to get the numbers right for this particular experiment, you need to assume flat, non-rotating Earth. It says it over again. You have to do the numbers assuming that you live on a flat, non-rotating Earth. So if you want, so basically you don't factor in any kind of Coriolis effect because the number's going to be wrong. And, you're not going to be able to intercept missiles or predict anything about this flight if you assume that we live on a ball spinning through space. The only way the numbers are going to be right is if you assume that we live on the opposite of what they're telling us. To get the numbers right, you have to assume the opposite. What's the opposite of a ball? Flat. What's the opposite of rotating? Non-rotating. So you have to get the numbers right, you have to assume that we're on the opposite of what we're told we're on. The opposite. The fucking opposite, to get the numbers right. You have to assume, to get the numbers right, you have to assume that crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theory that we live on a flat Earth. You have to use that. You have to use that to get the right numbers. This is
the other question I have about it. If it is flat, why would they tell us it was round? What are they keeping?
If they told us what we're really on, then they can't get that fake alien invasion to work. How are they going to get that to work? If there's a firmament and there's a barrier and there's a dome and there is no outer space, and this universe, this Earth is the universe.
So what would space be like, and the stars?
Who knows? There are mysterious lights in the sky that we don't know. But all these astrophysicists are pretending that they do know. And I'm saying that they don't, they don't know. Everyone's just memorizing, shit in books and claiming, oh, I'm an astrophysicist. But how many astrophysicists have really done real experiments to prove that the sun is 93 million miles away? No one's doing that shit. There's a lot of astrophysicists. They never done an experiment to prove that that's an accurate number. No one. That's an example of they just read it and that's what it is. And I'm an astrophysicist. And if you ask me how far the sun is from the Earth, I'm going to tell you 93 million miles. And I don't even know how they fucking did it. When you look into how they did it, it's like in 1961, NASA has this beam of light that they can, by pointing it at Venus and the moon, they can triangulate and figure out the distance to the sun. Something like that.
Well, here's an interesting point, because some people would be like, what's he talking about? But you have to say, you yourself have, I mean, the fact that you are a master of your own adaptation of jiu-jitsu, which in itself is a very complex art and science combined. And then, like, the fact that you managed to break down the science of jiu-jitsu and then beat Royler Gracie shows that, you know, because I've seen people in comment section go, oh, Eddie Bravo, you know, what's he talking about? But, like, you obviously have the intelligence to be able to take in this information with an open mind and break it down and analyze it. You know, obviously we're not fucking scientists. We haven't gone to Harvard or Yale and done this kind of thing. We took a different path in life. But imagine, had we have decided to go down a scientific route, then would we have been met with our natural curiosity would have been shut down. They're like, you can't ask those kind of questions.
Yeah, if you want to still get your paycheck, you better shut up with that shit.
Well, that's apparently quite a lot of people. In order to get funding, they have to go to the government. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. So, like, we've been programmed in order to just accept everything and authority. Yeah, here's our tax, and these guys are going to take care of it. I mean, like, you're living in the States, which at the moment is, you know, the Federal Reserve controls the entire global economy via the petrodollar. I mean, how is the climate there? I mean, I think the American people, a lot of them are fucking completely misinformed by watching like CNN or Fox News. Whereas I think in Europe, actually saying there's a lot of people in the States, like, do you think people are waking up to all this in America? Or do you think a lot of people are still asleep?
I think a lot of people are waking up, but still the indoctrination techniques they've been using are so powerful. It's hard to tell at this point if there's enough awake people. It's really hard to tell. It's hard.
Did you have any, you know, the time with the 2012, was there any bit within inside you was like, this shit could be real?
Oh, I believed it. Yeah. I believed it. You know why, though? This is before Flat Earth. Because I believed I was a space junkie. And I didn't believe 2012 was going to be the end because of what the Mayans said. I believed it because of what science said. Science said that 2012, it just so happens that, you know, the same year that the Mayans predicted something catastrophic was going to happen, it just so happens, coincidentally, that our galaxy is going to go through, or our sun is going to go through the center of the galaxy in its rotation. And when it goes through, and that happens every 26,000 years. And I'm like, dude, what are the odds? Something happens every 26,000 years, and the Mayans say that's when it ends. It's probably, something's going to happen, that we're going to go through the center of the galaxy and go through all this fucking energy. Something's going to happen. So I totally believed it.
And then they took the movie out.
Because of astrophysics, I believed it. But then once I got to the point where, wait a minute, these motherfuckers don't know what's going on in space. Once I realized that, then I realized how stupid I was for believing in 2012.
Yeah, because I fell for that shit as well. And I was like, what's the point in doing anything for the rest of the year?
I believed everything I saw on space documentaries. I used to watch them over and over again, try to memorize everything. So any information coming out on space, I mean, that was it was gospel to me. I believed everything. I believed all that shit. So when they said in 2012 we're going to go through the center of the galaxy, and that only happens once every 26,000 years, I was like, shit, something's going to happen. Something's happening. The Mayans were on to something. Because if it was just the Mayans without the astrophysics, I don't know if I believe it.
It's funny that you know when I was saying like they don't want you to us to know about the Earth and whatnot, because I asked someone in a comment section before, and they said, well, because then you discover God, or you know what I mean. It was like basically because in the Bible it talks about like the firmament and the four corners and that kind of thing. Do you reckon it's something that is there any like legitimacy to that claim?
Like Bible claims of I don't know. I'm open to I'm open to it. I haven't like dove into it yet, but little by little, I'm thinking. I keep hearing from my mentors, people who got me into questioning everything. I had guys that I looked up to and I would go to for the latest information, and 3 of them, super atheists, super all about science, super we're gonna find aliens, all that shit, and now they're Earth's flat and the Bible's legit. It's like at the end of all the rabbit holes is the Bible.
Yeah,
that's what it seems like. Although I don't know shit about the Bible. It's just what I'm hearing. I keep hearing that, dude. You gotta read the Bible. Just read it as with an open mind, and read it as a manual for living life the right way. Like, just if you do that, like this is how you're supposed to live your life. So I'm open to eventually doing that. Although I'm already trying to live my life the right way.
Yeah.
I'm all I want is the best for my son, and I want peace. I don't want any drama in my life. I just want peace. Yeah. And as much love as possible. But I am fascinated with how society works. And all the deception. I'm obsessed with figuring out exactly how we've been deceived over the time.
Well, this is the thing, Eddie. I had a question. It was like, why do we care about these things? But the reason is because we do care about the world around us. And you took your time out to be on this, small podcast and compare it to everything else. It, indicates your character, that you're a good dude. And you can tell when when you watch you in interviews that you're as they say in Ireland, you're a sound old skin. That's the point. When people get shot down for thinking differently, it's not because it's not because they get into these this conspiracy chat because they're doing it to just cause discord. It's because people are on a journey of discovery and going against the mainstream narrative just to find out what the fuck is actually going on in the world.
Yeah, I've never been into what's going on in DC in my life like I am now. I know a lot. I know DC like I know Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I know.
But that's what it's like.
I know the characters. I know congressmen. I know senators. I know people that work at the FBI, CIA. I know who's running shit. I know every day I get the latest on what's going on. I never did that before.
Yeah.
And it's so entertaining now that people like everyone knows the mainstream media is a propaganda machine, and so if they're pushing out all this negativity towards Trump, then he's got to be doing something right. They're going after him. They try to frame him with Russia. They framed him with that, and that's all coming out now. He was framed, and he went after Epstein. Everybody knew he was going after Epstein. People are like, oh, Trump this, Trump like, dude, because okay, you may not like Trump. But if Trump didn't win, Hillary would have won. Yeah. Hillary has connections to many murders. The Clinton body count is mainstream.
Yeah, it is.
I think she's proud of the Clinton body count. There's a Clinton body count, and there's like 65 murders that are connected to the Clintons. So Trump beat a person that was connected to at least 50 murders. You should be happy. You should be jumping for fucking joy that Hillary didn't win. Fuck all you dumb motherfuckers out there. Oh, Trump is a fucking racist. You dumb motherfucker. They got you. They got you with this shit. You know what? You know how many murders Trump is connected to? 0 murders. Clinton's 65.
At least.
That's crazy.
At least.
That's insanity.
Well, Eddie, if you look at what's happening in Europe today, you look at like the migration crisis, that's because they took out Gaddafi, because he wanted the African dinar. It was a gold-backed currency for Africa. And then you look at what they did they were behind the arming of ISIS, the whole Benghazi thing. I mean, this is and she was taking all these bribes for these, they get $500,000 to go and speak at an event. And these were just another way of getting bribes. And even my friend who was over at the weekend, we'd have arguments about Hillary and like she wouldn't hear any of it. And I said, so now what do you think of Hillary? She's like, I think you had a point about her.
You know what? We're gonna find out if the Q movement is legit. Because if it all comes down to what happens to Hillary, Obama, Clapper, Brennan, McCabe. Are they going to go down? If none of them get prosecuted, none of them go to jail, then we're fucked. We're fucked. But if they do, and it's looking like it's in the process of happening, if you're paying attention, it's all in the process.
It's also slow.
They're going after all of them. And it's mainstream news now. So it looks like it's fucking happening, man. It looks like, otherwise I would have just let that Hillary email scandal just fade away. But no, they ain't letting that shit fade away. They're bringing that shit right back. They could have let Epstein fade away. He beat the fucking rap in 2008. He got a little slap on the wrist. Why'd they bring that back? Why do they need to bring that back? They could have just let that shit slip away. But no. So things are happening. Look at the whole senior level of the FBI. Fired, all of them. John Brennan, director of the CIA, fired. They're getting rid of all these. Before they start indicting people and going after people, they got to make sure that all their.
Didn't they take Brennan's clearance as well? They took his clearance off him.
Yeah. Brennan is the one who directed. It's looking like they're going to go after him for directing, being the main guy in the Russian hoax, the smear. They needed to get rid of Trump. They knew Trump and Epstein had beef. They knew it. That's the whole reason. That's why everybody turned on Trump. They knew. He had everybody knew about the beef. Everybody knew Trump hated Epstein. So they'd be like, fuck, if he wins, man, he's going to go after Epstein and we're all fucked.
Because they loved Trump before he got in. Like, he was everywhere. Like, everyone loved him. Like, you know what I mean? It was like, I always thought he was really fucking a tacky dude, you know what I mean? Like I was in Vegas and you'd see like Trump, but like I didn't really have much of an opinion outside that on him. You know, he was just like, he had The Apprentice, and you know, he was just like a fucking dude who would have an opinion on something. And he was everywhere. He was in Sex and the City, Home Alone. He was like in every single like drama and TV show out there. And then he starts his presidential election, and suddenly he's public enemy number one. And that's what I found really strange about the whole thing. And then, of course, I had to ask a deeper question, which was like, is he a release valve for a jaded populace? You know, it's like, were people so sick of him or sick of it, they were like, okay, if we vote for this guy, things are going to change. But like, in fairness, like when you do look at the Q movement, like the Nexium thing was, the Nexium cult was taken down. And apparently one Stormy Daniels had the branding of, was it Alison Mackey, Keith Raniere on her.
Well, Nexium and Epstein are connected too. Both of them are connected. Because Epstein's right-hand man, Ghislaine Maxwell, her father, and the father of Keith Raniere, Nexium cult leader, his main chick was an heiress from the Seagrams.
Seagrams, and, liquor factory.
Yeah, so her father, Bronfman, her father and Ghislaine Maxwell's father were in business together. They were trying to buy the Jerusalem Post at one point together. And they do business with the Rothschilds too. So Nexium and Epstein are connected.
Yeah, fucking hell, man. Yeah, because I was just thinking, one of the Rothschilds, one of the younger dudes, and he's big into the whole climate thing as well. I think it's like David, like, you know, that's just another thing to think of in terms of pushing that agenda. But yeah, I mean, like, I was gonna talk mostly about like getting blazed on Kindbud and that kind of thing, but I thought, you know, I don't want to waste an opportunity to talk to the main man in this regard as well.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna have to get out pretty quick, so we got to wrap this up.
Yeah, and I just want to say, Eddie, thank you very much for jumping on board, mate, and you're a solid
pleasure,
dude.
Man. Thank you for having me.
Before you go, did you ever see that film, the Irish film, what's it called? Fucking Boondock Saints?
No.
There's a guy in that called Sean Patrick Flannery who apparently has his own BJJ gym in
I know
LA.
him, yeah.
Yeah, I met him at this sci-fi convention a couple of years ago, but he was a really cool dude. He goes, yo, if you're ever in LA, man, come and roll. I was like, I'll have to. But yeah, hopefully, Eddie, I'll be out in Los Angeles at some stage, but it'd be great to come down and do a bit of training. You're,
Come on down.
Excellent, mate. And before we go as well, there's a 10th Planet Gym in Carlow, Ireland. Give those guys the shout out. And 10th Planet here in Stockholm as well, out in Nacka. But yeah, if you're ever over in Ireland or Sweden, give me the shout, man. We'll blaze it up.
Thank you very much, man. Peace.
You're an awesome dude. Thank you very much, Eddie. Lovely talking to you, mate.
Thank you.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The main man himself, Eddie Bravo. What a sound, man. Not only did he live up to expectations, he absolutely smashed them right in with a lump hammer of sheer passion. Follow him on Instagram at EddieBravo10p if you want to learn more about the Roland. Didn't get a chance to talk about his musical career, whether he skateboarded or surfed, his love for hard rock, and what kind of guitars he plays. Thanks very much to Eddie, and thank you to you all for listening. And yeah, if you like what I do here, hit me up. I'm on Patreon, Hardiest Bucks, and you can also find me on Instagram, Maloney101. Hey, and I'm sound. I'll get back to you. Good night and God bless, wherever you are. Good luck.